The Ancient Promise. The holographic display bathed Director Elena Santos' office in an eerie blue glow as she studied the artifacts recovered from the Martian excavation site. After 20 years of searching, humanity had finally found evidence that they weren't alone in the universe. But what they discovered was far more profound than anyone had anticipated. "Play the message again," she commanded, her voice steady despite the weight of what she was about to witness for the 100th time. The hologram shifted, revealing a crystalline structure that pulsed with internal light. Ancient alien script transformed into modern English before her eyes, thanks to quantum translation matrices. To the children of Earth, the message began, its words flowing like water. "We are the Meridians. Long before your written history, when your species teetered on the brink of extinction during the Great Ice Age, we intervened. Our atmospheric processors prevented a runaway cooling effect that would have turned your world into an ice planet. We chose not to make ourselves known then, believing you should evolve without external influence. This message was left to be discovered only when you reached a sufficient level of technological advancement." Elena's fingers traced the edges of her desk, feeling the smooth surface of the recycled starship hull material. Humanity had indeed advanced, colonizing Mars and establishing outposts throughout the solar system. But this revelation changed everything. The message continued. "We left this record not to claim gratitude, but because we foresaw a time when our paths would cross again. The galaxy is vast but not empty, and not all species share our belief in preservation and growth. When you find this message, seek us among the stars of the Carina Nebula. By then, you may be our only hope." The timing couldn't have been more crucial. Just 3 days ago, their deep space monitoring stations had detected massive energy signatures from the direction of the Carina Nebula, signs of a civilization-scale conflict. Admiral James Chen entered the office, his uniform bearing the insignia of the United Earth Defense Force. "The Security Council has reached a decision," he announced without preamble. "Operation Remembrance is a go." Elena nodded, rising from her chair. "How many ships can we commit?" "The entire 7th Fleet is being redirected from the Kuiper Belt Patrol. 15 capital ships, 40 destroyers, and our support vessels. Our best crews, our most advanced technology." Chen's expression was grim but determined. "We don't know what we're flying into, Director." "We know enough," Elena replied, bringing up another hologram, this one showing the tactical layout of known space between Earth and the Carina Nebula. "We know that somewhere out there, the species that saved our ancestors needs help. Whatever we find, we go prepared." The next 48 hours transformed the Sol system into a staging ground for humanity's first major extraterrestrial intervention. Ships were recalled from their regular patrols, crews were briefed, and quantum computers worked overtime, calculating the most efficient jump trajectories to the Carina Nebula. Elena stood on the observation deck of the UES Prometheus, the flagship of the intervention fleet. Below her, Earth slowly rotated, its night side glittering with the lights of civilization. A civilization that might never have existed without the Meridian's intervention millennia ago. "Final preparations are complete," Admiral Chen reported, joining her at the viewport. "All ships report ready for quantum jump sequence." Elena turned to face him. "You know, throughout our history, humans have debated whether we're alone in the universe. Now we know we're not alone. And our first major act as a spacefaring species will be to repay a debt we didn't even know we owed." Poetic, isn't it? Chen smiled slightly. "Our ancestors would be proud. We've come so far from fighting over resources and territory on Earth. Now we're about to risk everything to help an alien civilization we've never even met." The fleet began moving into jump formation, a complex three-dimensional pattern designed to maintain structural integrity during quantum transition. Each ship's position was calculated to micrometer precision, their quantum fields aligned to create a single, massive jump envelope. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen," he broadcast across the fleet-wide channel. "Our ancestors faced extinction, And an unknown species chose to save us. They asked for nothing in return. They didn't even stay to take credit. They simply helped because they could, because they believed in our potential. Today, we prove they were right. Elena watched as the quantum drive indicators began to climb toward critical threshold. Today we show the galaxy what humanity stands for, she added. We remember our debts, we honor our obligations, and we never ever abandon those who helped us. The quantum drives engage, creating a cascade of brilliant light that stretched across space like aurora borealis. As the fleet prepared to make its historic jump, Elena couldn't help but wonder what they would find in the Carina Nebula. Would the Meridians still exist? Would they arrive in time? And how would humanity's intervention change the course of galactic history? The answers to those questions lay ahead, through the quantum corridor that was about to swallow the fleet. As the jump sequence reached its final stage, Elena remembered the last lines of the ancient message. When the time comes, remember that you were preserved not just to survive, but to ensure others might survive as well. The quantum jump initiated, and humanity took its first step toward repaying an ancient debt, and perhaps changing the galaxy forever. Operation Remembrance. The quantum corridor collapsed, reality reasserting itself in a burst of cerulean light. Where moments before there had been empty space, now hung the combined might of Earth's seventh fleet, their hull plates still crackling with residual quantum energy. Before them stretched the vast cosmic tapestry of the Carina Nebula, its swirling gases illuminated by the light of newborn stars. But they weren't alone. Multiple contacts. Lieutenant Sarah Patel's voice cut through the tense silence of the Prometheus's bridge, reading thousands of energy signatures. Two distinct technological profiles. One matches the crystalline structure from Mars. Admiral Chen leaned forward in his command chair, studying the tactical display. The scene unfolding before them was unlike anything humanity had prepared for. A massive fleet of crystalline ships, presumably the Meridians, was locked in combat with what appeared to be living vessels, organic monstrosities that moved with unsettling grace through the void. Analysis of the organic vessels. Elena asked, her eyes fixed on the horrifying elegance of the enemy ships. They're evolving, Director. Sarah's voice held a note of disbelief. Each time the Meridian weapons hit them, their hull structure adapts, becoming more resistant. They're learning from each engagement. Chen's jaw tightened, and the Meridians. Their fleet is down to less than 100 ships. Energy readings suggest their weapons are losing effectiveness. They're fighting a losing battle of attrition. Elena and Chen shared a look. This was why the Meridians had left that message on Mars. They must have foreseen this conflict, known they would need help against an enemy that could adapt to their advanced technology. Open a channel to all Meridian vessels, Chen commanded. Let's introduce ourselves. The communication system hummed to life, translating their message into the crystalline language patterns they decoded from the Mars artifact. Meridian Fleet, this is Admiral James Chen of the United Earth Defense Force. We received your message. We remember our debt. We're here to help. For a moment, there was silence. Then a response came, not in words, but in pure thought and emotion, transmitted directly into the minds of every human in the fleet. Gratitude, surprise, and desperate hope washed over them like a tide. Well, Elena smiled grimly. They certainly remember how to make an impression. Chen was already issuing orders. All ships, combat formation Delta. Let's show these organic nightmares what humanity brings to the fight. Deploy the Nemesis systems. The human fleet moved with practiced precision, their formation shifting like a living thing. From the belly of each ship emerged what looked like standard missile pods, but these were humanity's secret weapon. Neural Electromagnetic Swarm Intelligence Systems, or NEMSIS. The organic enemy ships, detecting the new threat, began to turn their attention to the human fleet. Their living hulls rippled, weapon ports forming and reforming as they adapted to face this new challenger. They're preparing to adapt to our weapons, Sarah reported. just like they did with the Meridians. Let them try. Chen's smile was cold. Execute Nemesis protocol. The missile pods burst open, but instead of conventional warheads, they released clouds of microscopic robots. Each robot was barely larger than a dust particle, but together they formed vast, intelligent swarms. As the enemy ships attempted to adapt, the swarms simply changed their attack patterns faster than the organic vessels could evolve. Multiple direct hits. Sarah called out. Enemy vessels showing signs of systemic failure. Their adaptive capabilities can't keep up with the speed of Nemesis reconfiguration. The Meridians, seeing the effectiveness of the human attack, began to coordinate their efforts. Their crystalline ships moved in perfect synchronization with the human fleet, their weapons targeting the areas weakened by the Nemesis swarms. Elena watched as the tide of battle slowly turned. They saved us with atmospheric processors, she mused. We're saving them with microscopic robots. The galaxy has a sense of irony. But the enemy wasn't finished. The organic ships began to merge, combining into larger, more complex forms. What had been thousands of smaller vessels was becoming hundreds of massive leviathans. They're not just adapting anymore. Sarah's voice was tense. They're evolving, becoming something new. Chen stood, his expression resolute. Then we'll evolve too. Signal the fleet. Implement contingency Omega. It's time to show them why humanity survived all those millennia ago. As the massive organic ships bore down on them, the human fleet began a maneuver that had never been attempted outside of simulations. The Nemesis swarms merged into larger collectives, matching the enemy's evolution with their own. At the same time, the human ships began a complex dance through space, their quantum drives spinning up not for escape, but for something far more ambitious. All ships, synchronize quantum fields, Chen ordered. Prepare for unified consciousness link with the Meridians. Let's show these creatures what happens when silicon, crystal, and human minds work as one. The battle for the Carina Nebula was about to enter its final phase, and humanity was about to demonstrate why they had been worth saving all those years ago. The debt would be repaid not just with technology, but with the very qualities that had allowed humanity to survive and thrive. Adaptability, creativity, and the unwavering determination to protect those who had once protected them. The stars themselves seemed to hold their breath as the combined forces of humanity and the Meridians prepared for their ultimate gambit. The human factor. The void between stars became a battlefield of light and shadow as three civilizations clashed in a dance of destruction and survival. The human fleet's quantum field synchronized with the Meridian's crystalline technology, creating something entirely new, a hybrid consciousness that spanned two species and thousands of minds. Neural link established, Sarah announced, her voice distant as her consciousness merged with the fleet-wide network. All ships reporting successful integration with Meridian crystal matrices. Through the shared consciousness, humans experienced the Meridian's memories of their first encounter with Earth, seeing their ancestors through alien eyes, witnessing the decision to preserve humanity's future. The Meridians, in turn, absorbed humanity's history of survival against impossible odds, their endless drive to innovate and adapt. The enemy is responding, Elena observed. Her consciousness expanded across the battlefield. They're trying to adapt to our merged configuration, but they can't predict what they don't understand. The organic ships, now massive living leviathans, launched waves of biological weapons, viral clouds designed to corrupt both electronic and crystalline systems. But humanity had spent centuries fighting viruses, both biological and digital. The Nemesis swarms transformed into protective screens, their microscopic robots functioning as an immune system for both fleets. Time to show them something they've never seen, Chen commanded. Execute Protocol Phoenix. The human ships began to move in impossible patterns, their quantum drives creating localized distortions in space-time. The Meridian vessels, guided by the shared consciousness, wove their crystalline energy beams through these distortions. Physics itself became a weapon as the combined fleet manipulated the fabric of space. Through the neural link, a Meridian commander shared a thought. Your species learned to bend reality itself. We learned to bend everything. Elena responded across the consciousness link. Because we had to. Because survival meant never accepting limitations. The enemy Leviathans found themselves trapped in a web of quantum distortions, their adaptive capabilities confused by weapons that seemed to break the laws of physics. Every time they evolved to counter one threat, the Human Meridian Alliance would shift tactics, approaching the battle from an entirely new angle. But the organic ships had one final evolution left. The Leviathans began to merge again, this time into a single, massive entity, a living spacecraft the size of a small moon. Its surface rippled with weapon ports, each one adapted to counter every strategy the Alliance had employed. They're concentrating all their adaptive potential into one form, Sarah reported. Energy readings are off the scale. Through the neural link, the Meridians shared their fear. They had faced this species before, watched them consume entire civilizations. Never had they displayed this level of evolution. Chen's mind reached out through the network, touching every human and Meridian consciousness. Then we'll show them our final evolution. All ships, prepare for convergence protocol. Elena's eyes widened as she understood the plan. Admiral, we've never tested this outside of theoretical models. The energy requirements alone are exactly why we need the Meridians, Chen finished. Their crystalline technology can channel the quantum energy. Our Nemesis swarms can direct it. Together, we can do what neither of us could do alone. The combined fleet began to move into a new formation, one that defied traditional space combat doctrine. Human ships linked their quantum fields in ways that should have torn them apart. Meridian vessels extended crystalline structures between them, creating a vast, geometric web of energy. The Nemesis swarms gathered into a single massive cloud, their collective intelligence growing exponentially as billions of microscopic robots merged their processing power. Through the neural link, human minds guided the swarm while Meridian consciousness channeled raw energy through their crystalline network. The enemy Leviathan, sensing the building power, launched everything it had. Biological weapons, energy beams, gravitational distortions, a barrage that would have annihilated either fleet alone. But the Human Meridian Alliance was no longer two fleets. They had become something new, something the galaxy had never seen before. Convergence in 3, 2, 1. Reality itself seemed to hold its breath as human quantum technology, Meridian crystals, and NEMES swarms aligned into perfect synchronization. The resulting burst of energy was like a new star being born, a concentrated beam of pure possibility that struck the enemy Leviathan. The massive organic ship tried to adapt, its surface shifting and evolving rapidly. But it was facing something beyond adaptation now. The combined consciousness of two species, the merged technology of 3 different approaches to space travel, and the unpredictable creativity that had kept humanity alive for millions of years. Through the neural link, every human and Meridian watched as their combined power tore through the enemy's defenses, not destroying the organic ship but transforming it. The Nemesis swarms reprogrammed its very structure, turning its adaptive capability against itself, while the quantum crystal energy matrix rewrote the laws of physics around it. When the light faded, the Leviathan hung motionless in space, its surface crystallized into patterns that merged organic, technological, and quantum structures. It had experienced its final evolution, not into a weapon, but into a monument to the power of cooperation between species. As the neural link slowly dissolved, returning minds to their individual states, Elena looked at Chen. Did we just create an entirely new form of matter by combining 3 different civilizations' technologies? Chen smiled. I believe we did. Humanity's debt is repaid, not just with victory, but with innovation. Through the remaining quantum channels, the Meridians shared their awe. In saving them, humanity had done more than win a battle. They had shown the galaxy a new path forward, one where different species could become more than the sum of their parts. The battle was over, but its implications would echo through the cosmos for generations to come. Price of victory. In the aftermath of the battle, the combined fleet orbited the crystallized Leviathan, now a shimmering monument against the backdrop of the Carina Nebula. The neural link between humans and Meridians had faded, but something profound remained, a deep understanding between two species that transcended ordinary communication. Director Elena Santos stood in the Prometheus's observation deck, watching as research vessels from both fleets conducted detailed scans of their unprecedented creation. The crystallized organic ship had become a fusion of all three civilizations' technologies, a testament to what was possible when different species worked together. The Meridian High Council is ready for our delegation, Admiral Chen announced as he entered the observation deck. They've invited us to their homeworld, something no other species has ever been offered. Elena turned from the viewport. And the analysis of the enemy ship. That's the interesting part. Chen activated a holographic display showing the internal structure of the crystallized Leviathan. It wasn't just a weapon, Elena. It was a seed ship. Those organic vessels were meant to transform entire sectors of space into breeding grounds for their species. At the cost of every other form of life, Elena finished, understanding dawning in her eyes. The Meridians didn't just save us from an ice age, did they? They were preparing us. They knew this enemy was coming. Chen nodded. They've been fighting them for millennia, watching them consume civilization after civilization. But they couldn't beat them alone. The crystalline technology was too predictable. The enemy could always adapt given enough time. Through the viewport, they watched as a Meridian ship approached the transformed Leviathan. Its crystalline surface pulsed with patterns that human researchers were only beginning to understand, their language written in light and geometry. They needed something unpredictable, Elena mused, a species that had evolved to think differently, to approach problems from angles that defied conventional logic. They needed humanity's chaos to balance their order. The implications were staggering. The Meridians hadn't simply saved humanity out of altruism. They had invested in Earth's future, nurturing a potential ally that could help them face a threat they couldn't defeat alone. A communication request chimed, and a holographic image materialized, the first clear visual contact with a Meridian. The beam was composed of shifting crystalline structures, its form more suggestion than substance, patterns of light dancing through transparent facets. We owe you an explanation. The Meridians' thoughts translated directly into comprehensible concepts in their minds. When we saved your world, we saw potential in your species that we ourselves had lost. You were adaptable, creative, willing to break rules and reshape them. We knew that someday, we would need those qualities. You could have told us this when we found your message, Chen pointed out, but there was no accusation in his tone. Would you have believed us? The Meridian's form shifted, creating patterns that somehow conveyed amusement. Would you have trusted our intentions if you knew we had been guiding your development for millennia? No, you needed to choose to help us freely, to innovate without constraints. Elena approached the hologram. And now, what happens to this partnership we forged? Now we face a choice. The Meridian's form became more focused, its patterns more complex. What we created today, the merger of our technologies, the hybrid consciousness, the transformation of our enemy, it's unprecedented. It could revolutionize space travel, communication, even the nature of civilization itself. But it could also be dangerous if misused. You're worried about what humanity might do with this knowledge, Chen realized. No, the Meridian corrected. We're worried about what we might do with it. Power corrupts all species, Admiral, even ones as old as ours. We need humanity not just for your creativity, but for your perspective, your youth, your ability to see possibilities where we see only patterns. As if to emphasize the point, the crystallized Leviathan suddenly pulsed with new energy, its surface rippling with impossible colors. The hybrid technology they'd created was still evolving, still combining the strengths of three different approaches to understanding the universe. The price of victory isn't just measured in ships lost or resources expended, Elena said, understanding dawning in her eyes. It's measured in responsibility. What we do with what we've learned here will shape the future of multiple species. The Meridian's form brightened in approval. Which is why we ask not for an alliance of necessity, but a partnership of choice. Together, we can guide this new technology's development, ensure it benefits all species, not just our own. Chen looked at Elena, then back at the Meridian. You saved our ancestors, so we could help save you. Now you're offering to help us shape the future of galactic civilization. The debt seems to keep growing. No. The Meridian's patterns shifted to convey something like a smile. The debt was repaid the moment you chose to answer our call. What happens now isn't about obligation. It's about possibility, about what we can achieve together. As they spoke, more ships began arriving in the system, representatives from other species who had detected the battle's energy signatures. The galaxy was about to change, and humanity would help guide that change not because of an ancient debt, but because they had proven themselves worthy of the responsibility. The price of victory was the weight of the future, and humanity was ready to help carry it. Legacy of Honor. 1 year after the Battle of Carina Nebula, the galactic landscape had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. The crystallized Leviathan, now known as the Convergence Monument, had become a symbol of interspecies cooperation, drawing diplomatic missions and scientific delegations from across known space. Director Elena Santos stood before the United Earth Council, delivering her annual report on humanity's new role in galactic affairs. The chamber, built with a blend of human and Meridian architecture, reflected the synthesis of technologies that had become commonplace since the battle. In the past year, Elena addressed the assembled representatives. We've established joint research facilities with the Meridians on 6 different worlds. The hybrid technology we created has already revolutionized everything from medicine to space travel. But more importantly, it's changed how species interact with each other. Holographic displays showed various collaborative projects across the galaxy. Human quantum physics combined with Meridian crystal matrices had created new forms of faster-than-light travel. The Nemesis swarms, enhanced with crystalline processing, now served as universal translators, breaking down barriers between species that had never been able to communicate before. Admiral Chen, now serving as Earth's first ambassador to the Galactic Cooperative, added his own observations. What we discovered in repaying our debt was something far more valuable than technology. We found a new way forward, one where different species don't just coexist, but actively combine their strengths. The Convergence Monument had proved to be more than just a symbol. Studies of its unique structure had revealed new principles of physics, biology, and consciousness itself. The transformed Leviathan had become a teaching tool, showing how different approaches to science could combine to create something greater than their individual parts. But not all changes had been easy. Some human factions feared the rapid pace of technological integration. Others worried about losing humanity's unique identity in the rush to join the galactic community. The Meridians two-faced conservatives who believed too much had been shared too quickly. Change always brings resistance, Elena acknowledged, addressing these concerns directly. But look at what we've achieved. A year ago, we were a single-system species with theoretical models of faster-than-light travel. Now we're helping to reshape the fundamental nature of galactic civilization. Through the chamber's windows, Earth's orbital shipyards were visible, where vessels of human, Meridian, and hybrid design were under construction. Each ship represented a lesson learned from the Battle of Carina. That strength comes not from isolation, but from synthesis, not from competition, but from cooperation. The Meridian High Council had appointed permanent representatives to Earth, their crystalline forms now a common sight in major cities. In return, human scientists and diplomats had begun learning the intricate art of crystal consciousness communication. bridging gaps that had once seemed insurmountable. We repaid our debt, Chen concluded, but in doing so, we gained far more than we gave. The Meridians saved our ancestors from extinction, yes, but by giving us the chance to help them, they allowed us to prove something to ourselves and to the galaxy, that humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology or our adaptability. Elena picked up the thread. Our greatest strength is our ability to reach out, to connect, to take different pieces and create something new. The debt we owed taught us the value of remembering where we came from, but also showed us how to move forward. As if to emphasize this point, a new ship emerged from the orbital shipyards, the first of its kind, designed and built collaboratively by human, Meridian, and other species engineers. Its hull gleamed with the same impossible patterns as the Convergence Monument, a living testament to what could be achieved when different civilizations chose to work together. The galaxy once saw us as children, Elena said, watching the ship begin its maiden voyage. Now they see us as partners, not because we repaid our debt, but because of how we chose to repay it. We didn't just fight for the Meridians. We found a way to transform an enemy into a monument to cooperation. We didn't just save them. We helped create a new way forward for all species. The legacy of humanity's debt repayment would echo through the cosmos for generations to come. But it wasn't the legacy of a transaction completed or an obligation met. It was the legacy of a choice, to face challenges not alone, but together. To see differences not as barriers, but as opportunities. To transform ancient debts into new possibilities. As the new ship disappeared into quantum space, its hybrid drives leaving a trail of crystalline light across the stars, Elena smiled. Humanity had repaid its debt to the Meridians, yes. But in doing so, they had earned something far more valuable, a future where no species had to face the universe alone. The ancient debt was settled, but the story it began was just beginning. And this time, all of galactic civilization would write it together.